Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Science Dispatch Podcast. My name is Cameron English. Excited to be here as always. Thrilled even because I get to hang out with my good buddy, Dr. Chuck Dinnerstein, Director of Medicine at the American Council on Science and Health. Chuck, how are you?
I'm fine. And for the audience, these are some of the evils of caffeine that you hear over there on the other end of the line. All jacked up. All jacked up and ready to go. Double espresso. Okay. All good.
That's the way I roll, man. I got to be good and juiced up for these episodes.
Okay.
Because that's how I thrive.
That's how I roll. Okay.
We have, I want to say, what is one of the most painful stories we're going to cover today, primarily because I'm horrified at the prospect of having to experience this myself.
As well you should be.
And, of course, we're talking about kidney stones. And our good friend and colleague, Dr. Josh Blue, our resident chemist, as I like to refer to him, wrote a piece a few weeks back called "Kidney Stones Are Torture, So is a Chemistry Lesson About Them." So Josh went through the helpful exercise of explaining what kidney stones feel like, having experienced one, and then the chemistry of how they develop. And, I've never seen a better justification for drinking lots of fluids than this article, and possibly eating less spinach as well. Crazy stuff here. So let me read the introduction, and then Chuck, as a physician, I don't know if you've ever treated these or if you've experienced one, but I'm sure you can offer some insight here. So Josh writes, ever had a kidney stone? If not, congratulations. You've never screamed while trying to pee out microscopic shrapnel. It starts with a bit too much spinach or exercise and ends with you on the bathroom floor praying for death or morphine, whichever arrives first. To make this experience even more miserable, here's a dreaded chemistry lesson from hell. Of course, this is Josh's signature series explaining chemistry in a funny way, I guess we'll try to put it this time. So take it away. What do you make of this?
Well, he is certainly correct that kidney stones are probably among the most painful medical conditions possible. It is available to both genders, unlike labor and delivery. So men have had an equal experience with it. I have not had a kidney stone, though I've had as close as you get, which is an obstruction of my urine flow, which is basically the same thing, and it is horrible. Death is easier. I don't think there's enough drugs in the world to make up for it. And it's kind of an interesting thing because it's really stopped up plumbing. In the case of a kidney stone, it's most likely that there's an obstruction in the ureter, which is the muscular tube that brings the urine from the kidney down into the bladder. And the muscle continues to try and move urine past that point, and that's what causes this very sharp, episodic pain. It's really agonal. I have to say I've had it on several occasions, and it's changed my life in that regard. In any case, Josh goes on to talk about the most common source of kidney stones, which is calcium oxalate. And the oxalate part is found in the foods we consume: spinach, beets, chocolate, unfortunately, nuts, potatoes. Unlike what Josh feels, it does not involve kale, so he's safe there. And it turns out the calcium that we naturally have in our bloodstream binds with the oxalate, and when it does bind with it, it precipitates out. It forms a solid very quickly, and it's a solid that becomes, as Josh describes it, extremely insoluble. What happens when these things crystallizes, the calcium oxalate crystals form, and they form such a tight pattern that they cannot be broken up. And that's what the approximate cause of the kidney stones are. So you're correct. The best defense against it is to stay well hydrated.
He doesn't go into this in the story, but I'm curious. How do you treat these? I mean, my understanding is they just let you pass it. I mean, probably unless there's some more severe complication.
Well,
What's the typical protocol, if you know, for dealing with this?
yes. Well, the typical protocol is first to identify that that's in fact what it is. You can get the kidney stone within the kidney itself, though that's far less common. Most of the time it lodges as I said, in this muscular tube called the ureter, or sometimes it will lodge in your bladder and obstruct the flow of urine out of the urethra into the real world. So we usually try to make a diagnosis of that, which is done with an X-ray. And in most instances, if people get satisfactory pain relief with opioids, this is one of those times you're definitely going to be getting some opioids, they will hopefully determine that the stone is small enough that it will pass on its own and it's just temporarily obstructed. In the cases where it's not, the standby for centuries has been, as they write, cutting for stone. And going in surgically and removing it. And in fact, the fact that operation is one of the oldest operations on the planet gives you an idea how long kidney stones have been a problem for humanity. We no longer have to go cut for stones. You'll be happy to know it's all done non-invasively. And we usually use one of two methods. We can use an ultrasound to break up the stone and turn it from a large object that is not passing into little bits of gravel that can pass, and that's a process called lithotripsy. Or we can go in a semi-invasive way through your urethra and put a tube past the obstruction so that urine is released, and then go in and pull it out. I can see from the way you're shaking your head that doesn't sound like an appealing operation. But believe me, if you have a kidney stone, that's an appealing operation.
No doubt. But nevertheless, hearing you describe the procedure is horrifying. Really, I mean, as a man, I can think of few things that are more invasive, as you said, but painful and just horribly uncomfortable than someone sticking.
This is, this is another one of those fine trade-offs. You can trade off all of those things that you're worried about in terms of my description of the procedure versus the most excruciating pain you can imagine.
I'm not denying that it's a better option. Not denying. I think the reality that the cure in this case is like a slightly less severe amount of pain.
Only slightly better than the disease.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And I'm sure you're sedated or you're medicated while this is happening. So, but just hearing it described is just, gives me the shivers. So Josh talks in the story about, he accidentally said kale, as you said, but it's actually spinach, I believe, is one of the high oxalate foods. Chocolate potatoes, as you said, some nuts, or maybe all nuts. I'm not entirely sure on that. So beyond managing diet, you need to stay well hydrated. He mentions exercise. I assume that's just the loss of fluids as you sweat. Okay.
Yeah.
So
neither Josh or I have reached a point in our lives where we exercise enough to become dehydrated.
Yeah, I'm sure that for endurance athletes it could be a risk, and that's why they have to stay hopped up on the Gatorade and all that kind of thing.
Oh, sure. Or doing outside work. Being a roofer in Florida in July.
That might be as bad as sticking a rod up your urethra.
Good there.
Yeah, that's brutal. Okay, so stay hydrated. Trying to give folks some practical advice. I don't know if anyone needs to moderate their spinach intake. I'm sure that's quite unlikely for most of us. I've never been in a place where I go, I got to have another helping of spinach.
Even Popeye didn't have calcium oxalates.
Yeah, man, that's a good point. Okay. Is there anything else people can do as we wrap up here? Just, say your prayers, cross your fingers, and drink lots of water?
Well, I think that, staying hydrated is probably the key. to what you can do in this situation until you discover that you are one of those people that forms calcium oxalate zones, at which point you're going to begin to be much more careful about your diet. It is one of those. I can't say enough about the pain and tell you how good it is as a reinforcement mechanism to follow the instructions of your doctor.
Yeah. If you don't want your urethra to feel like it's going to explode, do what I tell you. Okay. Final question. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, your turn.
You mentioned opioids. Is this one of the situations where most physicians would go, all right, I got to give you something to get through this?
Oh, yeah. This is
okay.
This is one of those times when you need to get some of the good stuff.
Very good. All right. Well, that's good to know. If this ever happens to me and I'm in the ER, I'm going to go, hey, I know a doctor, and he told me that it is ethical to give me opioids for this excruciating pain. So fork them over.
So that will be the last moment you ever had a chance to get opioids in the ER.
Yeah. I don't have itchy teeth, I promise. All right. Very good. So once again, Josh's a very unpleasant article, not because it's a bad article, because the content is just so disconcerting. It's called Kidney Stones Are Torture, So is a Chemistry Lesson About Them. This is on our website, acsh.org. When you're there, click the subscribe tab, punch in your email address. We'll send you the articles that we write. The ones that you read the most are typically the ones we talk about. We also have a revitalized YouTube channel called Matter of Facts, hosted by our colleague Anna Delaski. She's doing awesome 30-second, 1-minute videos explaining practical science, trying to clarify the nonsense that's out there, as we've been talking about for decades. The headlines are full of junk, and this is a simple way that you can arm yourself with some helpful tidbits to avoid all the garbage. And with that, we're done. Thank you so much. We will see you next week.